Us, everyone. Welcome back to the Kyokushin Shuffle. Thanks so much for everyone's support. Thanks so much for everyone's comments. And I guess more so than anything for listening and keeping the sharing and the, voice of what we're trying to achieve here with the Strongest Karate series. This week, we're going to be covering off the World Tournament of Knockdown Kyokushin Karate, a key part of the ethos and the fire of why it is the strongest karate. So let's get stuck into it. Lots to talk about. I'll do my best. I hope I don't veer off too much in this topic because there are so many things to cover. Excuse the fact checking. I don't have my little notes here. I just go forward with it and use my, I guess, knowledge as such over the years in conversation and being fortunate to compete in 3. But there is a bit of a asterisk next to some of the most of them because of the following. So in 1964, Kyokushin started. Obviously, let's get some facts here that are evident in understanding the timeline. And then in 1975 was the first world tournament in Japan. Now, what we need to keep in mind here is this was Kyokushin in the 60s and 70s was from what I know, from what I hear, seen as a bit barbaric, a bit over the top, full contact karate. Back then there was obviously certain no rules in the dojo, with some certain stories of our shians and past shians that wrap their hands around in towels to face punch, to grab. And there was all these certain parts of karate that are still in our training, but to make the competition, to make the sport element of it, which is a icky word I use, that sport, but it gives you an understanding, because I use the concept of there's Kyokushin karate and then there is knockdown karate. Knockdown is our equivalent of the sports side, the tournament fighting. Kyokushin karate is everything: grabbing, gripping, punching, striking. And so there has to be a rule set, and the rule set that came in gradually in evolving and making it a spectacle for viewers, for fans, for spectators to come. We had to put some rule sets in, and the rule sets of the key one is, like everyone disses, I guess, the Kyokushin fighters and students, is no face punching. Now, how could you allow face punching? It will end in a second. There will be blood everywhere and cuts and you name it. So no full fists to the face. Leg kick, foot, knee, and then they were allowed, but no grabbing as such. 75 footage and 79, there's a fair bit of grabbing involved, and you need to watch some of the shitaskis on the hikates pulling and the grabbing and the rips coming through. Quite awesome, to be honest. But you could imagine that era and that spectacle of rules being introduced to keep it as clean as possible. Like the UFC had to, no kneeing, no kicking when someone's hand's on the ground, all these different things, no groin kicks, no knee joint kicks. So there were part and parcels of eliminating certain tips and tricks that you learn in karate, but not to be used. Elbows, no elbow striking like in Muay Thai, but we still learn it in our Kihon, in our basics, up, through, around. We learn clinching, grabbing in our katas, but no, can't grab, can't clinch, neck clinch, underhooks, none of that allowed. So there's a whole bunch of factors that needed to be brought up first and foremost. So the rule set adjusted. Now, the other side of it is the weight. So open weight is the other spectacle, pinnacle of what is Kyokushin being the strongest karate. In the open world tournament, there is no weight category division. You can be 60 odd kilos fighting 120 kilos. You could be 80 kilos fighting 60 kilos. You could be 90. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. If you are the best 2, 3, 4 fighters in your country, then you were selected to then come to the world tournament and be the representative of your country. And the key to the other side of it is it was under one organization under Sosai Masayama. So 64, 75 occurs within that 10-year bracket. Let's be honest here and fact check me. It is said, and it is said in books that I've got here, that Sosai had built the organization up to potentially 10 million to 12 million students. Some say 15, but let's go 10 to 12. I'll say that again. Around the world, within 10 years, 10 million to 12 million students under the one man to become this juggernaut of a style / the strongest karate, which then leads to this, hey, all other styles welcome, stand-up karate, stand-up fighting, come to the world tournament, because you will see on some of the footage, and type in, please, for reference sake, first world tournament 1975. This is part of the other educational part that I love to share with others that aren't familiar with it, and at least a handful of students that have just started as white belts who thank you for sending me your messages and just saying, hey, I didn't know this, and good on you. You know, now you can go talk to your sensei or shian and mention that you listened to this, and now you have a little bit of knowledge and reference behind you. Fantastic, even better. And so, you know, we get to that phase where the weight category is another thing that you need to hurdle, and then how many fights. So the how many fights period is, you know, anywhere between 7 to 10 fights to make the final. And I say that because if there's one, you know, there is a difference. If it was a 3-day tournament, my understanding is there's 256 odd fighters in that. It's not as common anymore. Correct me if I'm wrong, for all those other organizations out there now, but under that one, it may have occurred in 75 where it was that, because it went over the 3-day period. So you're looking at, even if there's 128 fighters from all around the world, that's 64 fights in 1 to 2 days. But day one, getting through those first rounds and clearing it out. So then that 128 drops down to 64. And then day 2, 64 drops down to 32. And then there's a whole lot of fights in between that as well, because then there's extensions that pop into that. So an extension occurs, obviously, you fight the 3 minutes. It's a draw. Boom. You fight again for 2 or 3 minutes, depending on the rule set. And then day 3, you're into that final 16. And that final 16 has another hurdle, another thing to add on to weight, numbers. And then the top 16 have that Tamashiwari set. Now, what does that mean? Simply put, to not go on forever about it, you select I think it's an inch, correct me if I'm wrong, whatever, less than an inch or an inch of wood. And you can pick 5 for different strikes that you need to do with your hand, elbow, and knee, or a shuto. So hand meaning fist punching down. You might see that footage. So let's do me, for example. I've got, I made if I never did, but if I made the top 16, there is all the top 16 fighters have to now break these boards. I punch 5, there's 5. I do hiji, elbow down, I break 7. I'm up to 12, and it continues on. I do shuto, I break 5, I'm up to 18, until it gets to anywhere between that. Geez, the number is 25 to 30, give or take, but none of the other fighters are aware of this number. Some maybe, because there's coaches that watch and have an idea and how the draw works, and there's all tactics around that, but you got to break it. Now, keep in mind, you may have fought already 2 days, and if your hand, there's multiple fighters that have already had fractures in their hands, in their wrist, in their forearm from blocking kicks, you name it. And now they've got to break this wood. So it factors massively in that strongest karate mode of, you get to the top 16, you fought 5 times to get there. Now you got to break these boards. Now these boards are used in the judging decision, which I'll get to. And again, I'm raising all these key points here that may just seem too fast, as I just said it right now. You've got to fight. If you lose, you're out. If you're in, you move into the next round. And your body needs to be able to sustain 2 days, 3 days, 7 fights, 8 fights, 4 fights, whatever the hell number it is. One fight alone is crazy and is very, very difficult in a world tournament level. And then you've got to adjust to injuries, factors, wrist, hand, knee, leg, shin, foot, ribs, slight concussion maybe if you did get a kick in that first round, slight concussion if you got punched accidentally, groin kicks that's happening. There's just shit going on everywhere. Excuse my language. So lots and lots and lots occurs in this starting point or in this phase of the world tournament. And I say it with passion. I was not here to talk about me too much on it, but I was fortunate to compete in 3 world tournaments. Now let's put the asterisks here on it that it wasn't under the IKO one. My master was fortunate to do that, and those that are probably in their 50s now, respectfully, and when the splits happened in roughly that 97, 98, 99 period, I started in 99, 2000. So we then joined another organization. So I fought 2 in the World Union organization and 1 in the Kyokushin, 08, 12, and 16. Honored. Whether, yes, it wasn't in that one group and at the time at its peak, and we're talking here the Sosai had paid for the fighters' accommodation, paid for I think it was their flights as well, flights and accommodation for 128 odd fighters in these world tournaments up to until Sosai passed away in that mid early 90s period. I was trying to think. So 91 was his last world tournament, because then 95, so he passed away in 93, 94. So he was paying for this to attract the top. So what an incentive it was to encourage the best full contact karate fighters in the world to join his organization / Kyokushin, and then be a part of who is the absolute best full contact fighter, stand-up fighter in the world. And his tournaments just took off, 79, 75, 79, 83, 87, 91, 95, 99. Look them up. My favorite is the 4th. There is a fantastic 1 hour, 45, 50 minutes of the 4th world tournament. Now, in explaining that, it's because the evolution from 75 to the 4th, 75, 79, 83, 87, you're looking at 7-8 years here of this continuation and this rolling effect of people training and students training hard and dojos opening up around the world, and this spectacle just blowing up, and this strongest karate ethos and saying, and everyone saying that's just unbelievable, and it's barbaric, and it's crazy, and it's tough, and it's brutal, and it's all these words. But in 87, the reason I love that the most was the fighting was just exceptional, just unbelievable on all elements, physical, go back to the last episode, physically, mentally, spiritually, morally, all these factors were just evident in every fight. And the key to me was the mixture of countries that were in that top 16, top 32, Europeans, South Americans, Japanese, Australians, New Zealand, Iran, Asia specific, Southeast Asia specific, Russia. Yama put these all together to bring the best fighters in the world, and these different styles and sizes and weights and differences of power and technique and training. It was just beautiful, just amazing. If you grab that 4th world tournament, I'll put a reference to it on the link below. There's a couple out there. I'll try and find the one I love. And, it's just got some absolute savages in this tournament, which for me, when I came in 99, 2000, I dreamt, God forbid, if ever I could ever compete in a tournament, let alone on a national level, state level, national level, and then world. And I was fortunate, very, very fortunate. And we were with different groups. It was still a big goddamn tournament. There was still, 128, 64, 32. It was still that. And very, very tough, very, very hard, because of the amount of work. The amount of work, the training that I did in 08, 12, and 16, because it's only every 4 years. Shit. The amount of work that I did, I thought I didn't go. I say this to my students. I never went in, obviously, with the mentality of being a world champion. And that's no fault of anyone. It was just the way it was. But I know others did. I know the guys I fought did. I know Jonathan Taneo did, who became the runner-up. I fought Miyagi son who was a world champion, and I could tell why they were the world champion. It instilled in me something I still have to this day, where I'm like, I thought I trained hard. I thought I put everything into it. And I was fortunate and blessed. My Xi'an fought in 2 under the one IKO one. Xi'an Billy fought in 2, so he knew exactly what it took. He knew exactly what it would take. I was fortunate to get to the second round, never got to the third. I drew in the second round, nearly made a third in 2012. I lost to a Japanese fighter, very tough. And again, back to the no excuses, but just in the comparison of I was 83 kg, he was 97, 98 kg. If I had got my second draw, this is where the boards come in. The weight is over 10 kilos, so that's a positive for me. But it was a round 3, so there was no boards broken. So I would have progressed had it been another draw, and just because of the difference in weight over 10. So different rule sets again. Had it been if we're in the top 16, we go to the boards, as they say. We go to the boards, and if the weight was less than 10 kilograms, so let's say I'm 85, he's 94. So there's no difference there. They're not going to give me an advantage because it was less than 10 kilos of weight. They go to the boards. And if I was, let's say, 2 more than him, 27 to his 25, I progress. So that's after though, fighting for 3 minutes, second extension, 2 minutes or 3 minutes, depending on the tournament rules, and then going again. God damn. I don't think I ever did 2. No, I never did. No, I did a round and an extension, never fought a double extension. No. In a world tournament, that is, in a world tournament. In the nationals, I did. Yep, bloody hell. Flashbacks. Okay, so, these are these extra elements I wanted to share. Most of you might already know this in the Kyokushin world. Put your favorite world tournament up. Put some comments in there. Let the next generation of students that are listening to this see your comments as to maybe who your best fighter was, why he or she was your best fighter. Put the comments as to what that favorite tournament of yours was. If there's any Xi'ans that were in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th world tournament of the group, the IKO 1 group, up until the time of that late 90s period after Sosai passed away, put your fight up. Put your fight up, please. If you're a student of one of your masters that competed in that goddamn tournament from any part of the world, put it up. Please put it on the comments down below. And I'm being a bit aggressive there, but I'm trying to encourage everyone to watch and learn and see the different styles and ways and the evolution of how the art continued to progress as the strongest karate, and how those fighters, those coaches, those people that committed all their time to becoming the absolute strongest they possibly could, to becoming a potential world champion. I think there's just not enough being said about that. I think we're all just accepting in Kyokushin karate and in full contact karate world that it is what it is. That's cool. That's okay. Fuck. Please start sharing it and keeping the flame alive. I mean, I'm sure those that are listening abroad or here in Australia and NZ get to hear different stories and of their teachers or of their lineage of who fought well and represented their teacher and master and dojo. Put it up, please. It's great to see, great to learn, great to hear. I know I was in awe when I would hear my Xi'an talk about his time in the world tournaments, and my sensei who fought in a world tournament as well in 99, I think it was. And just, my first recollection of fighting in the world tournament in 08 in Okinawa, and just seeing how the other countries warmed up and how focused they were and how strong they were and how serious they took this. And I guess I didn't realize or comprehend it too much because I just didn't have that vision in myself, but how important it is. And it was for those that won the world tournament, how, their profile and their dojos and their future would be recognized as, a world champion or a runner-up or in the top 8. Famous pictures of Kyokushin fighters are in that trophy presentation. And, you automatically look to 1, 2, and 3, and then you scroll your eyes down to multiple 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th plates. And, there's some absolute legends in those photos that have continued on, that have passed away, that have left Kyokushin, but always reflect on it and use that time of how epic their training was, or that journey, or that part of their life, and how important the world tournament was. So, the part of how Kyokushin moved, towards the differentiation, the difference of Kyokushin karate, full suite of functional karate, functional meaning what would work outside and out in the street, towards knockdown karate. There's been some great conversations with Shihan Terry Burkett and Senpai there in regards to Real Talks in their episode, Senpai Scott Heaney, and go listen to that, type that in. They have a great conversation of comparison and understanding that. But there's still some epic world tournaments, and now we've gotten to a point where there's, I think, let's be real, give or take four world champions in different organizations. But okay, there's 4 world champions. Good. Great. We know who they are. Let's keep going. Let's get on with it. And I'm one of those biased, because I got the opportunity. I got the opportunity to be in a separate organization and be selected. And don't get me wrong, I didn't just get picked out of a fucking hat. I had to win the national title in 08. I had to make the final. I made the final in 09. What happened in 10? Shit, I don't know. I think I got second. And then I had to win in 11 to get into 12. So I had to win. You had to win, and you had to win the Australian titles, or you had to become 1, 2, or 3 in the Australian titles. No doubt about it. And I hope that still gets encouraged more and more, but it is difficult, splits and all that stuff. But this is why we're sharing it. This isn't those selection of those tournaments were not just a lucky dip. And keep in mind all the other countries then, and all the other branch chiefs and all the other Shians that had to pick their top 3, 4 fighters from lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight, super heavyweight, or 3 heavyweights, 2 lightweights, 2 middleweight. Man, who was the best? Who was the best? And it was an incredible standard that would have been set around the world, an incredible part of everyone's way of training and way of keeping the strongest karate alive, was knowing full well that if you go to a world tournament, shit, you got to put everything down. I did. I had to put everything down. I still had a full-time job. At the time in 08, I wasn't married or had kids or anything of that nature. So I was raring to go, had an opportunity to represent my country, my Shihan, the dojo. I took it very, very seriously, very, very seriously. And then in 2012, after experiencing the 08 one, shit, I thought I'd done enough in 08. I'd done it. I scratch my head now, because it was just like, holy crap. The moment of, and the amount of training and discipline and training at Shihan's dojo 4 or 5 times a week, plus my own external training. Again, this is for fighting. This is just pure fighting and making sure your body can sustain a year to 2 years to 3 years of no damage, no injuries, no setbacks. And I was truly blessed with that stuff. And I've heard, many top Shians now, obviously back then, that missed world tournaments. I read that Shihan Stephen Kujic missed out on one because he was injured. I can keep going. I mean, there were many that missed out because of just timing. I think Kyoshi Jimmy missed he was in 79, but missed 83, yet he won the Australian title in 83 or something like that. And then he broke his foot. Mike Kenworthy, if you're listening, I think you also missed some. There was so many that were at their peak, but in the timing of getting to the world tournament had an injury. So difficult. And that's what's keeping this conversation alive in a way. So, like I said, I hope I didn't veer off too much on different side notes here, but that's the way it is. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you got something out of it more so, because like I said in the other conversation with the 100-man kumite, and how Soso Oyama said, for all of us, for all Kyokushin practitioners, for all in martial arts, to aim for the ultimate, to the dream in Kyokushin was to, for those that did it full time and those that were under Sosai and those that were fighting for Japan, for example, who, geez, you know, if you're Japanese and you lost in Japan, it was dishonorable. You know, it was just a no-no. They took it very, very seriously. You know, to eventually aim for becoming a world champion or completing the 100-man kumite. Two of the strongest freaking things in a chapters in a person's life to comprehend. So, you know, if you think you're training hard now for upcoming state tournament, awesome, keep it up. Excellent. Then you progress from being 1 or 2 or 3 in that state, in your state. Then you move to a national. Then you think the training that you did for the states was enough. Double it, triple it. Hours, time, train smarter, have a good shian, have a good coach, sensei that can help you, that's been through it, that can guide you 100%. You know, you will benefit from all of those sensei shians out there that have been in, you know, national tournaments and more so progressed to the top 3 or won it. Then you think you put in enough work to win a national tournament. Now you got to have the timing of preparing for a world tournament against the best, against, you know, some of the most savages out there that are full-time, and bless them if they are fantastic. They run their schools, they train, and they commit every single minute of the day to becoming a world champion. Awesome. Guys like me, guys and girls in a way that had jobs, full-time jobs, and just did the 2 odd hours in blocks and periods where we could. Even more credit to you guys and girls that could do that. So I'm not here to scare you. If you're working towards a world tournament, go for it. Tell your sensei, tell your shian, man, what does it take? And it'll change your life. It'll change your way of absolutely everything. You thought you could work hard. You thought you've worked hard enough. You ain't done shit. You're not, you know, and that's the beauty I love of our style. You know, we just continue to progress, get better. There's no limit. There just isn't a limit. I hope it's given you something to think about. All respect to those that have competed in the world tournaments from whichever organization. Respect to you all. Respect to all those that are working towards potentially attaining it. Yell out. Put some questions in. Those that have competed in world tournaments, please comment below. Get others around the world to recognize and see some of your footage. Maybe we could get a tip or trick or some advice. It's something that I can't stress more enough of, in everyone sharing and collaborating and becoming united again in some way where we all are forever the student. We just need to continue in some way. If my platform helps you, if you are thinking about it in some way of, again, honoring that strongest karate, keep it in mind. Keep it in mind daily, on and off the mat. The Bushido way is not to just uphold your strongest values and physically, morally, spiritually for an hour and a half to 2 hours on the mat. No. It helps you. It gives you a platform, gives you something to work towards for the other 22 hours of your day. Osh. Now I'm getting all passionate and brutal. A big us to you all. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you're enjoying these episodes. I hope you're getting something out of it. Please put a comment of any kind. It gives me some, I guess, confidence back that you are benefiting from it, that you might be listening. These are conversations that I have in my dojo. If I could have my dojo with 300, 400, 500, 1,000 students, oh yeah, that would be epic. You know, that would be the pinnacle in sharing what I've been fortunate under my master and his master and so on. And if we don't keep it alive, and if we're not sharing it in some format, this is my way of doing it, well, there's going to be a lot of catching up to do in keeping it the strongest karate. Let's keep going, keep training hard, keep working hard. See you on the mat. Big us everyone. Thank you so much.